Hello, welcome to this week's How's the Market, Pensacola. Well, today is Pearl Harbor Day. I know most of you are actually seeing this on December 8th, but as I record it, it is Pearl Harbor Day. Having been on those hallowed grounds multiple times, I would be remiss if I didn't record this show and say that we remember. It's been 79 years. It's very hard to believe it's been that long ago. I was not around, for those of you who are asking. But anyways, it has been that. I do want to have one thing before we start the show off, and it's just kind of a reminder for everybody that's watching my show in Florida. One of the things that I'm starting to see because of this seller's market that we have right now is people not willing to disclose. They're not wanting to disclose issues. Like there was some mold. There's nothing wrong with there being some mold in the property as long as it was mitigated and you can prove it. I've also seen people, I helped a couple buy a house about 6 months ago and it was advertised as a new roof. I didn't represent the sellers. But with the new roof, all of a sudden during this hurricane, it started leaking. It was a new metal roof. And so we just went back and said, hey, I know you pulled the permit, Mr. Seller, personally, but who did you get to do the work? They refused to tell us. Ladies and gentlemen, in the state of Florida, that's no bueno. State of Florida is a disclosure state. What that means, loose terms. I'm no lawyer, consult your lawyer, all that legal stuff. Hey, I don't take this as legal advice. But what basically the law stands for is anything that materially impacts the value of the property must be disclosed by the seller. Well, if you didn't do a roof right, or if you didn't hire a licensed contractor to do it, that should be disclosed. So there's some things that need to be disclosed. If there was, I'll give you another example. I had a client, I asked a question. I said, has the house ever flooded? He went, well, define flooded. That took me a second. I was like, well, has water ever come in the house? He went, yes and no. Okay, there's obviously a story there. Tell me. He said, I used to be a firefighter. He goes, I forgot to open the fence on the side over here, right? So we saw water starting to come up from the creek behind us. I literally opened the back door, put a tarp down and sandbagged through my living room, because that was the grade of the house, out the front door, and watched as the water came through the house, but never touched a wall. Never touched a wall. We watched as some of it seeped underneath the sandbags on the tarp, and we would just mop that up immediately. That was that evening. So has the property flooded? Well, there would be some people out there that would say, no, it has not flooded. What I wanted them to do, because I think the spirit of the law says, just write that down. You can leave the yes, no, I don't know. Those are the three answers on what they call the seller's disclosure form. Yes, no, I don't know. Property says there water ever intruded the property. I told him, I said, in my opinion, the answer is yes, it has intruded. The fact you maneuvered it out is a story to tell. And that's how you let the new buyers know, hey, there was no damage from this, but this was what could have happened. That way they can make an informed decision on their property. We're just seeing that such a low inventory, people are trying to take shortcuts. So do not do that, because I promise you, as you start to take shortcuts and we see a lack of inventory, that it will just be more and more litigious in nature and come back to bite you down the road. That roof that I was telling you about, yeah, that buyer's already hired an attorney, so I know that's going to come back and bite them. But they did it. I did not represent that particular seller. I did represent that buyer, and I let them know what attorney they should probably reach out to. Anyways, disclose. The state of Florida is disclosed. You go over the state line over to Alabama. Alabama is caveat emptor, which is a fancy word for just saying buyer beware. They do not have to disclose anything in the state of Alabama. The seller does not have to disclose. So know your rules, know your states. That's also why you really should hire a professional to take care of stuff. Make sure things are covered. I have example after example, but that's for a different show. Right now, let's take a look at this week. Let's see how our second week of December looks. I would say inventory-wise, but let's see how the damage report of lack of inventory is again this week. Let's go. right, for those of you who have never seen this show, I always started off with this slide. If we have between 6 and 7 months worth of inventory, we have a neutral market. Anything greater than 7 months is considered a buyer's market. Anything less than 6 months is considered a seller's market. What the slide does not say, anything greater than 9 months is considered a hyper buyer's market. Anything less than 3 months is considered a hyper seller's market. Let's take a look at our 2 counties. We are going to start as usual with Escambia County, and Escambia County has now moved to almost all hyper sellers. This is the first time you're watching the show. Over here on the left is your price points. On the right is your month's inventory. That's why I show this slide. Everything up to $700,000 is under 3 months inventory. So based on our definition, it is considered a hyper seller's market. The luxury is considered a seller's. It's 3.8. So it's less than a month away from being hyper sellers, but technically it's still a seller's right now. All right, let's jump over to Santa Rosa County. And just like the last few months, everything in Santa Rosa County right now is a hyper seller's market. When I started this show out, I started it saying I get tired of people saying it's just a seller's market or just a buyer's market. It really depends. It depends on the price points. But as you can see right now, it doesn't depend in Santa Rosa County. Someone asked me if it's a seller's or a buyer's market. I would call them a hyper seller's market regardless. There is nothing under $50,000 active. Nothing. Zero, zip, zilch. Not even a lot. Your 100 to 150,000, look at this, 0.3 months. We're out of property by Christmas. 150 to 200, 0.3. 200 to 250, 0.6. 250 to 300, 0.9. If you look here, these are your numbers active. 100 to 150, there's 5 active, and they're in rough shape. I think there's 1 or 2 that's not in rough shape, but they're 150 to 200, 14 active. There's just not much active over there in Santa Rosa County. You can go back and look at Escambia County and see the same. 50 to 100, you got 35. 100 to 150, you got 37. And some of these, again, are lots. I just finished picking up another lot in Escambia County that will be on in this 0 to 50 mark by the end of the day. So I'll be adding one more there because I just picked it up this morning. But it's going to take some time to get it sold. But at the same time, there's just not much out there. We are having an inventory crisis, which I have been talking about for a while. Watch your headlines. I've seen some headlines in the Wall Street Journal. I've seen that big brand Zillow out there saying, hey, we've seen an increase of inventory by 100%. Well, you know what? If it's 3 listings like we have in Escambia County right now, and I put 3 listings on, that's a 100% increase in inventory. It's real simple to get headlines to work when you're using percentages. So watch your headlines. This is definitely a hyper seller's market we're sitting in right now. But go back and look at last December's. Go back and look at last summer's. We normally have a little bit of a cyclical, but if you look at last summer's show, that's one of the reasons I do this, so we can document and you can kind of start to see the ebb and flow. You go back and look. We had buyer's market, we had hyper buyer's markets, we had neutral markets. We had them all over the place. Right now is an inventory problem that I think is going to continue for most of this month. So as a seller, I get the question every December, is December a good time to put my property up? You've got real buyers trying to buy. So yeah, it is. Can you push the price a little? Yes. Can you push it ridiculous? No, because we still have to appraise. And I'm starting to see, especially in the mortgage groups that I'm in, people complaining about appraisals not coming in at purchase price. Well, that's because you pushed it a little too high. So watch that. You still have to get that appraisal. Now, if it's cash, you don't have to deal with it. I've seen some people paying cash that just didn't have to deal with anything. Okay, no problem. Right now, hyper sellers market pretty much everywhere. So as a buyer, you need to be prepared to offer at, if not significantly over list, especially if they priced right. That's why it's really good to have a good strategist behind you who understands these numbers and understands what we're looking at when we look at a property. I even had a commercial property I'm helping a couple buy right now. He looked at me and said, I think we can get $100,000, $150,000 off. I said, yeah, 3 years ago. Right now, not so much. Not so much. Anyways, that's this week's numbers. I really hope this helps you get some information for you and yours. If you're looking at doing anything in real estate in the next 12 months, if you're doing it between now and next year, give me a shout. Shoot me a DM. If you're looking at this on YouTube or Facebook, wherever, if you're reading it through an email, reply to the email. Shoot me a message. Let's have a conversation. the worst case scenario is we go, nah, it's not the right move for you right now. But if you're considering it, let's talk. All right. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.
I'm a man on a mission.
My mission is to help people break through all the noise out there and
Don't need no permission.
I want to help you get to actual truth. Don't you just want the truth?